Well, what he did was to single-handedly start a movement, the Campaign for Defer Divestment. And after a few years of severe hard work, pounding the pavement, he got the likes of George Clooney and Don Cheadle to support him. And he marched that campaign all the way to Capitol Hill. And that's how he, as one person, was able to make a real difference. Uganda. The Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda over the years has taken at least 300,000 children as child soldiers. This is a, unfortunately, common practice, a source of fighters. These are kids, 6 years old to 15, 16 years old on up. They're kids, but they're turned mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and physically into fighters. So what can somebody sitting in my home state of Ohio do to help these kids? Well, someone figured out a way. They came up with the Uganda White Bracelet Program, and through this, they were able to organize the communities in Uganda to create bracelets. They made them out of the resources they had, and they shipped them to the States, and these communities started to sell them, and the money has gone directly to each bracelet a child soldier, a former child soldier. And they've helped to reintegrate these child soldiers back into their former communities, helped to get them training, school, education, counseling, so that they can become productive members of their former community. This is one person had this idea and said, hey, what can I do? My own experience 2 weeks ago, I was lucky enough to get a ticket to the inauguration. I flew in the day before. I was packed in like a sardine on the metro down to the mall. I got off, it was 11 degrees at 7 a.m. with the wind chill. It was freezing. And we were all packed in there like sardines marching down to the Capitol. But you know what? I saw people who were in their 90s. I saw 6-year-olds. I saw every color, every background. I saw Americans. I saw people from all over the world. And people were freezing their butts off. But they were happy to be there, really happy to be there. And I met people who didn't make it down in time, who got stuck on the metro, who were lost, who weren't able to break through some crowded access point. And instead of being bitter, they were just happy to be a part of something. The thing about us as human beings is that we really are capable of changing. But each one of us must do it ourselves. We have to be the change. We have to be the ones who say, today I'm going to do it different. And when you do that, you inspire those around you to do the same thing. No one can tell you what change is needed or how you can get involved to help create peace in the world. You know your skills, you know your passions, you know your capacity. But what you need to know is that you can do it, and now is the time. What are we waiting for? My last example of a great leader and someone who affected change as an individual is somebody that we're all very, very familiar with, and that is Gandhi. Gandhi had some of the best advice ever. He simply said, be the change you seek to see in the world. That's it. But why was Gandhi so successful? He lived at a time of great change and great conflict. India getting out of colonialism after decades of brutal violence. World War II. The entire world thought things would never be the same. Somehow this one person was able to find something within himself, to rise to the challenge and be that source of positivity and hope when everyone around him were skeptical and said, are you crazy? Look at what's happening. You want us to believe in peace? But he believed, and because he believed, some more people believed. And because they believed, more of us came on board. And decades later, it's great for those of us who can look back historically and say, oh yeah, he was one of the greats. And we've had other great examples as well. But to be that one person in that moment of deep skepticism, when scary things are happening, to find that thing inside of you that can say, I can do this. I myself can have a different attitude. It's interesting that this Culture of Peace lecture is happening this year. In 1999, the UN came up with the Declaration on the Culture of Peace and said this would be a decade of great peace, first decade of the new century. Looking back at almost the decade's end, we've seen that this has been a challenging decade for many reasons. And it's been a decade where a lot of us have fallen into our fears. There are scary things that happen in the world. There is conflict, there is war. We are potentially facing a recession. It will affect us. And there's nothing that singularly one of us can do to change all of that. But what we can do is decide how we're going to be, what type of person we're going to be in the face of challenge. Are we going to be the type of person that allows the fear to get the best of us, shut down, protect what we have? Are we going to be the type of person that allows us to reach out, start to inspire, and find a way to solve these problems and address these challenges? That is what my work has been about as a mediator and about as somebody who teaches conflict resolution to people. In the face of skepticism, you have to search for ways to believe that something can be better. Hopelessness will get us nowhere. It does not solve problems. Skepticism can be useful because it helps us to critically assess where we went wrong. But don't let it prevent us from finding the solutions we all seek. If, as individuals, we can delve deep into ourselves to find this inner source, to find this inner ability to change and to inspire, that can be powerful because there's something called the collective consciousness. Now, collective consciousness is just a theory. It was created in the late 1800s by a French social theorist. The idea that beliefs, ideas can spread across a society and start to influence behavior. Some of you may have read James Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, and he comes up with 3 ideas about collective consciousness. He says that ideas can spread just like a virus. It's because of contagiousness. It's because little causes can have really big effects. And it's because change happens, not gradually all the time, but sometimes a moment, a build-up, gets us to that point that things tip. On election day, I was on UCLA campus teaching a class, and it was about 11 o'clock in the morning. Everyone all of a sudden started saying, Obama's won. He must have won. He's won. All the students, all the staff, campus. And I started to think about it. These are people, some who really wanted Hillary, some who were huge McCain supporters. It wasn't politics, but there was this palpable sense that something had happened. It was 11 a.m. The polls had not yet closed on the East Coast. Nobody knew this, but everybody started to sense something. So what if, just like we've created our own internet, we are already connected through our collective consciousness? What if it's more than a theory? What if it's a way that we can really influence each other's behavior? Then does your responsibility to find inner peace, to promote that where you live with the people you know, not become incredibly important and powerful? What if there is a tipping point and enough people do that one simple thing and things tip? Now, this is not to abdicate the responsibility at the state level. Nations still need to do a good job and to prevent conflict and to manage and to mitigate and to resolve it. But we have a role to play too. We can't simply wait for our leaders and for the international community to do something. We can do something. We can do it today. We can do it tomorrow. We can inspire one person. We can inspire 10. And in that way, that small thing, seemingly, becomes very powerful